So hello guys, now welcome back to the machine learning training as far as YEESI is concerned. So in the previous videos, we have discussed about data analysis using pandas. We have created pandas data frames. We have done a lot of things. So I'd recommend that if you haven't watched it, please kindly go back and watch the previous videos. Now in today's videos, we're going to discuss something different. It's called data visualization. And I'm going to use Matplotlib library, okay? So why do we have to do data visualization? This is a very important stage. If you are doing machine learning, at some point, you're going to have to do data visualization. You're going to have to visualize your data. So here, it helps to actually see your data, visualize your data from all these text or images form and into graphs and charts. And in this case, it might be a line graph, it might be histograms, it might be scatters, it might be, the box plots, it might be pie charts and so forth, okay? And there are so many useful tools out there, but in my opinion, Matplotlib is a very powerful tool, a very comprehensive tool. And if you use Matplotlib, it can give you so many features that can make your job very, very easy. So I'd recommend that you use Matplotlib, but again, you can use other tools like Seaborn, and maybe probably I'll make other videos about other tools that you can use. But in today's video, you're going to discuss how you can visualize your data sets using the Matplotlib tool, okay? So now let's jump into the coding part. Now, the first thing you're going to import, the useful libraries. So import necessary libraries. And when you're dealing with Matplotlib, the first thing you're going to do is import the Matplotlib. Now, you say import matplotlib dot pyplot as plt. Now, this is the first way you're going to go about it. Or you can say from matplotlib import pyplot as plt. Now, if you run these, all of them should be fine. So whichever you choose, you just do the job for you. And I don't have any personal preference. So for me, I just work with whatever flows best in my head at that particular moment. And for now, I'll just have to delete this one because you don't have to repeat it. It's a redundancy. As I said, you can just use any of your choice. Now, import pandas because we might use pandas again, and we might also use NumPy. So import NumPy as NP. I'm running it, everything should be fine. So now let's create a dummy data sets. So I'll say creating dummy data sets. That will show you how we do this. Now, as you know, we're going to plot the data sets in the graph. So we need to have x-axis and y-axis because we're going to draw a simple line graph. So for now, I'll create my x variables. Okay, maybe I'll use a NumPy array. Again, if you haven't covered the NumPy and the pandas, I would recommend you go back in my previous videos and watch in the data sets, how we work with NumPy and how we work with pandas. Okay, so I'll create a dummy array, a few numbers, hypothetical numbers. I'll just say 23. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm going to put some numbers. I don't have to make sense. So the aim is to just show you how you can plot them against an XY plane. So maybe the data sets may not be meaningful, but again, the result is just displaying how this data looks like. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I have like 10 numbers. And then for the y-axis, I'll just create an array, NumPy array, and then I'll fill it with some numbers like from 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90. Oh, so we have 9 numbers. Okay, this one is okay, fine. You can just run, all fine. All right, now creating a simple line graph. So a simple line graph will be, I'll call the plot function or subplot. By default, I just put X and Y. So by calling the plot function, oh, sorry, something is wrong somewhere. Oh, so the shapes are not the same. So it seems like I have a 9 and a 4. So they have to have the first dimension because you're going to have to see the coordinates. Oh, my bad. This was in a number. Okay, let me count. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I believe they are the same. So let's. Okay. So we have a strange graph. It's a little bit weird. Okay, but the aim here is to just show you how it looks and how you can create. So I believe in your data set, you may be having columns that have meaning. So if you want to see them, just go there and put them as your X's and Y axes, okay? So in our case, we have a simple line graph, but it doesn't have a title. So adding a title to this graph will be calling this title method. I'll just call the title method right away and say the attribute that I pass. Okay, so the parameter, the argument that I'm passing here, I'll say a title, maybe I'll just say a simple line graph. So maybe this is a simple line graph. If I run it, so I have a title now, it says it's a simple line graph, okay? Now understand one thing. Now, if you see here, when we just call this plot method and put the parameters X, Y, here, by default, it says it is a line graph, okay? But if you want to specify, maybe you want a different type, you can use a kind attribute. So the kind attribute here, if you add the kind attribute here and it changes, it will show you if you can specify whether you want a bar graph or whether you want a scattered or a different kind, okay? But for me, I won't use it here. There is another way I want to use it. So the first is you can use the kind attribute to specify the kind of a graph that you want, and the kind attribute will just be here, and to specify like the type that you want. Okay, so for me, I don't want to use that. I will just show you how I'm going to do it differently just a little bit later. Okay, now for now you have a simple graph, as I said, and you have different numbers, or maybe this will make more sense if I say this is a y-axis and this is an x-axis. So these numbers can change. I'll come here, I'll rerun it, see what we get. Yeah, maybe something like this will be a little bit more meaningful. And then, yeah, now you have your simple line graph. So you know how to create a very simple line graph by passing the the values and the y values. All right, that's the first thing. Now, you can see here, the Matplotlib will just bring you something very annoying. I don't like this. Usually in my Jupyter notebook, it keeps on coming. If I don't like it, pop here. The way you can remove it is by calling the show method, and this will just clear it all. Now, yeah, boom, it just went away, okay? So now you have a very simple line graph with not noisy at all. All right, now you can add some parameters here. So for instance, I can specify the line style. I can say the line style, I want it to be dotted. I want it to be a dotted line. If I come here, then you see you have a dotted line here. So maybe I'll just copy it here, and then I'll paste it here. And in this case, I'll remove the dotted line so we can have two graphs. Okay, so you see this is the first one and this is the second one. Okay, well now something else you can do is you can specify the color. So I can come here and say, I want to specify the color. So the color becomes, oh, I'll just put any color of my choice. I can say this one is red, and it just becomes red. Also, these dotted lines are red. And so this one, if you want it to do the same, you can just say, okay, I want you to change the color from your original color to maybe green. And then if I run, it should be a green line, okay? So now this is a very simple line graph, as I said. Now, what else can you do? So you can change, so for instance here, you see you have, the y-axis and the x-axis and the x-axis. So if you want to put the labels, because they don't have any labels for now, maybe they're not very meaningful for someone who doesn't know our data sets. So what you can do is just come here and say, I want to add labels to my data sets. Now, adding labels to my data sets, I'll just call the X label. It depends on which one I want to label now. I want to label the X-axis, so I say X label, and then put the label here. So the label here can be anything like X data points, or you can say X-axis X data points. Again, it doesn't have to be very meaningful. So you run, you have now X data points loaded here. And if you want, you can do the same for the Y values by just calling the Y label. You can rename according to your data sets. So mine are just dummy data sets I just created here. So I don't have to make sense. I'll just say data points, Y data points. And then you have your Y data points in this side and this side. Okay. All right. Now, something else that you can do is, so for instance, you cannot read, or you don't want to change, you don't want this kind of a font, you can change the fonts in this title here. You can change the fonts in this axis, like y-axis and the x-axis. So how do you do that? You just come here, add another attribute called the font dictionary. I'll say font dictionary, and then call it, it's a dictionary, so you can specify a key and a value and the key. I'll just come here, I'll say, the first thing I'm going to do is the font name, and change the font name here. I'm going to change the font. So you can change the font name from the default. I don't even know what the default font name is, but from the default to any font name of your choice. Now, the font name of my choice, usually I like using Courier, like this one. Courier. If I go run it, okay, so I get this warning here, says find font family Courier not found. All right, yeah, the reason it says this one is because I haven't installed the packages, so I have to install the font packages so it can have all these font names from all these font families. All right, so for me it's not a big deal. Yeah, usually in other computers when I do that, it just works so fine. So I'm not going to install these, fix this warning here, installing, a new font family. So in this case, I don't want the font packages, I'll just leave it there. But in your case, if you have updated font packages, it will just bring you, the way it looks. So you can put anything, you can put Arial, you can put my other favorite called Comic Sans MS, because it looks cool. I like the way it looks. And then I can also specify the font size. So the font size, okay. The double quotes first, then font size. And then I can say maybe I want the title to be 30. If I run it, now you see a simple line graph. So we have changed the size because the size doesn't have any problem. But it doesn't work for this one because it's probably outdated or anything. All right. So for now, if you want the same here, you can go ahead and change. So I'll come here in the labels. I'll say, I'm calling the font dictionary again and say, hey, font dictionary, please. I want the font. So there is no point to change the fonts, the family, because, it's not working, at least not in this computer. So I'll say maybe 20 for the font size. then run, see, yeah, you see the changes from the small version, like this small version here, into a more visible one. And I can do the same with my Y labels. I say, all right, please font dictionary. I want you to change for me. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to come here and put font size equals to 20 as well. So I shouldn't have any problem with this. And then you can see it's more visible. It looks so nice. It's simple but nice. All right. Again, my data set doesn't have any meaning, so it may not make sense. Maybe a lot, not at least not a lot of sense. But in your case, your data sets we visualize and probably just make more sense. Okay. Now I recommend that if you want to learn more about this Matplotlib, just go for the documentation. You see, if you go to the official website here, the matplotlib.org, yeah, here it just shows you so much. So this website here will show you like, or you can come here to the documentation. Sorry, go back to the website. You can come to the documentation. There are so many useful information about the Matplotlib. You can even come here and search for your favorite. I'll just say, I'm going to put a keyword, maybe I'll just say something like this and see the options that I have. There are so many different options. If you can go to the examples, you'll see different options again. And the tutorials, yeah, you have different tutorials. They just tell you different things, okay? So I recommend that if you want to learn more about this, you come to this website. That's where you have very useful information about what is available and what is not, okay? So I believe this will help you very, very much. So yeah, so you have something like that. Now, let's go back. Now, here you have created a simple line graph, but again, there are different kind of graphs. You can have line graphs, you can have bar graphs, you can have histograms, you can have scatters, you can have plot box, you can have pie charts, and so forth, okay? So let me show you another one, a different kind of. Now, the different kind will be, as I said, you'll be coming here, changing the kind, using the kind argument, changing the kind into a different. But my personal preference is not that one. I'll just come here. I'll show you. So maybe say we want to create a histogram for one of these. I mean, a histogram for these columns, maybe for the X columns or the Y columns. You can just come here and say, call the histogram. Sorry, histogram function, and then pass on what you want. I'll pass on the X values. If I come here and have a histogram, something like this, okay? And then that is the histogram of my X values. I can have histogram of my Y values again. And then if I run, I have something like this. So for my Y values, you have a bunch of numbers like 23, whatever. And then if you just come here, you see all these values been plotted in here. You can put the title again, as I showed you there. It's the same thing. Plus you remove that, you can just call the show method. It will do the work for you. Okay. And then you can run, and then that's okay. So now let's have a little bit different data sets. Now let's creating a pandas data frame. Let's create a pandas data frame and try to see how we can exploit a little bit more. Okay, so I'll say my data frame, and then I'll just use a dictionary because I like using dictionary. You can use any, it's just how you see it works best for you. So here I'll say the first one, I'll probably put some IDs here. I'll say maybe you have a couple of IDs. Or the first ID, I'll just put some numbers. I mean, some array of hypothetical IDs. I'll say maybe this is 001, comma, this is 02. This is 004, sorry, 003, 004, 005. And then you have 006. 007. Okay, now let's come here, say that's the first ID. Let's go for the sex. Okay, another column should be a sex column. Let's add some rows in this sex column. Actually, I have done this several times before in my previous videos, so I hope you have actually watched it and you know what you're exactly doing here. So I'll say the first one probably is a male. So what I'm doing here, I'm just going to put some hypothetical data where there are a group of people, maybe, okay, male, and then you have a female. You have a male. You have a female. You have a male. Now be careful so that the length actually, equals for all of them. Otherwise you'll bump into an error. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I have a female here. Let's go to another data set. We have maybe the ages. For the age part, I'll just say, hey, okay, it should be a string. This should be not a string at all. So I'll say the age is 20. I'll just put some random age. It's 1, 2, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Should just be 7. All right. Now let's put in something else. Probably it's the age. I just want to show you with a different data set how it works. Maybe we have their age. Okay. Age, I'll just put some numbers like this. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And maybe age 18, maybe the last one can be the weight or the salary or anything. Just put some random numbers out there. I'll just say this is probably their weight. And then the weight, I'll say 34, 65, 74, 6. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'll remove this one, run it. Okay, so we know this is just a dictionary. I want to convert it into a pandas data frame. Now I'll have to say overwrite data and then put data frame. And then I'll pass in this panda object. Oops, I have an error here. Let me see, what is it? They must be all the same length. Okay, 1, 2, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'll remove this one. Now this should be fine. I hope it is. Yeah. So just to check if it's already a pandas data frame, I'll just check the type. I know it is a pandas data frame. I'm just showing you how to check. Yeah, it is a pandas data frame. All right. So I don't need this one. Okay, just comment it. All right. So let's now display the head, the first 5 rows. Oh, you can just display all of them. All right. So now this is your dummy data set. This is how it looks like. So it tells you that you have a bunch of IDs. These are probably some students or some random people. I don't know, and I don't care. I have their sex, and they have the ages, their heights, and the weights. So have these dimensions. Now, the first thing you may want to do, you know that it's a data, right? So the first thing you can do, you can call the histogram. Yes, the histogram. Again, I told you I didn't want to use the kind. Remember in the beginning when I told you I don't like to use, this kind argument inside this plot method or the plot function in here to specify the type of a graph that I want. Usually I like to call a function for a specific graph. So for histogram, I'll just call a histogram, and then I'll just put in data. I know it doesn't have any meaning for right now. Okay, so for now, a bunch of things just happens there. You have a histogram is a bar graph. It displays, you have now these are the numerical values. So what it does is actually taking all these numerical values from your data and then go ahead and plot. Okay, that's exactly what it's doing. So that is basically not a good way to do it. So I'll say, no, I want to plot maybe the ages. So, or the ages. So I'll say, all right, I don't have to remove it. I'll come here and say, my ages is basically a data. I'll say plot a histogram. Okay, the other way I can do it, I'll say data dot histogram. So this one makes sense. So for this one, the first one gives you a kind of a bar graph that shows you the distribution of all the numerical values, and the same applies here. Okay, I'll remove the noise here, sorry. I'll say plot, I can say show. Yeah, you can put the title here, you already know how to do it. Now, I'll come here, I'll say plot, at least show, so that it's not noisy. All right, so there is a difference between these two, but this one is the correct way to do it, because what I'm doing here, I just told it to do to create histograms for all the numeric values from my data sets. So if I go back to my data sets, that's the reason I create this kind of a data sets. So if I go back to my data sets, here I can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. And in these 5 columns, you have actually 2 columns that are actually non-numeric. Yeah, you can see these ones are not numeric, but these are numeric. And if you want to see it, you come here. They may look numeric, but here they are string values. You see these guys here have string values, but the numeric values, you have age, height, and weight. So these numeric values that you see here are the ones that have been created, histograms of all individual numeric columns here. So if you go to age, what it says is, hey, in your age, you have the first group where you have like the age of 20s, and oh, sorry. Okay, so in the first group, you have age of 20s, and they are this much. And then you have age of 30s, and the age of 40s, and the age of 50s. So it just counts the number of guys in their 40s, yes, in their 20s, and yeah, you have so much guys with the 40s, and maybe the height. I mean, you have so much in below 150, and then this is the statistics for the weight as well. Okay. Now, if you want to deal with individuals, so for at this particular moment, what we did is plot histograms or numeric columns, just like this. But in this case, maybe we're going to focus on some of them or one of them. So let's go to the age. If you want to focus on the age, I'll specify, I'll say data, but this column here, it's actually age column. If I want to deal with age, I'll say data column, and then I'll say I did a histogram for that. And then you have a histogram that focuses with age. If I print it, I have something like this. So this one is actually much more visible and more useful, more than this one. And you can specify like the number of bins that you want. And the number of bins actually depends on and number of your data sets. If you have so much data sets, then it makes more sense to make, more number of bins. So for me, I'll just put the default. I don't want to specify the size here. The number of bins, I can just remove. I'll say plot show. You can run it. I can add the title. I say plot. I'll call the plt.title. I'll come here and put a title. I'll say age distribution. Or something like a simple histogram for age distribution. Just run it. Yeah, it looks fine. If you want to specify the size, I already told you in the beginning, you can just say, hey, the font dictionary, where are you? I just call the font dictionary and then specify the value and the key. So the value here will be, I'll just put a string here, just say font size. Again, I won't bother using the font family or the font name because I know it doesn't work in my computer. So I'll just say 30. There you go. Yeah, so you can you can do the same for the x-axis as I've shown you up there, and it works the same. So this is actually a histogram, and the other one in the beginning is actually a line graph. And you can see this is a dotted line graph, and you can also change the colors. Yeah, so if you come here, histogram, you can say, I want to change the color. Let's see the color. If we change the color to red, and boom, it looks like this. So your color is okay, it is already colored. So you have something useful. You can change your color to any kind of color that you want. So my favorite is green, so I'll just say I want it to be green, and it works like this. Okay, so for now you have seen how to make different kind of graphs. You have seen how to make a line graph. You have seen to make how you make a histogram, just like this. Okay, now let's do something different. So for instance, here, if you remember here, we still have our X and Y values. You remember that? Okay, you see, you remember here, we still have the X and the Y values. So now let me show you something different. I'll come here, I'll call them, I'll say plot Now I want you to plot something called scatter. Now, if I plot a scatter, I'm not using a plot function here, I'm calling a scatter, and I pass on the y, x and y values. See what happens. Now you have a scatter graph here. You see the scatter graph here? So I'll just come around here. This is another kind of graph. As I told you, I don't like using the kind argument, but it's okay if you're using a kind argument or you just call the individual functions, it just works the same. So here I'll say creating a scatter graph. Okay, and then I'll just call this one. I'll call this one the title here. So the title, a simple scatter graph. And then I run it. I get this heading here, a very beautiful heading, a simple scatter graph, okay? Again, if you want to do, you can do the same. If you want to put the labels, you can say the labels, and this is just, so now you have seen actually how to create different kind of graphs at this moment. Okay, let me remove this noise. Here I'll say, it's annoying, very annoying. I'll say show. And then if you run, looks so nice. Okay, so you can see, as I told you, the reason we're studying data visualization is because at some point you want to have visualize your data. So these examples that I'm providing here for the sake of learning is these are very simple. They are very simple. You have like very few data sets, but when you're dealing with huge data sets, you see the importance because sometimes you have missing values and you have so many variables. So there are times when you need to know like which variables are actually very important that you have to pay attention. And maybe you have to see, you want to see the relationship between these variables, like the correlations. And there are so many other reasons why you might need this kind of data visualization in your graphs. So if you have the skills to create simple graphs from here, you can convert this one and change into when huge using data sets. So for instance, what I just created here is a very simple data sets. Now imagine you have hundreds of columns, probably thousands of rows, and then sometimes some of them have missing values. You want to see which you have, how many outliers that you have. So it helps so much. So please guys, be very careful with this. And I want you to be very serious with this, okay? All right, so another thing you can do, here you have created a simple scatter graph. Now you can create so many different kind of graphs, and maybe we can create something else, maybe a pie chart. Now for pie charts, let's create a different kind of data sets for that. Creating data sets for pie charts. Now creating data sets for pie charts. How do you do this? Okay, so I'll create my data sets. I'll say I have my, because I already have X and Y, so I don't want to use the same. So I'll just use something different. Now, let's say we have a distribution of some food or some fruits. I'll just say you have fruits. I'll just say fruits. Then these are the total numbers. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then here I'll say fruit summation. Fruits type. Fruits type. Okay, fruits types. So this is some distribution of fruits. Now maybe these are the mangoes. Oh, sorry, let me put an array of string here. Now my aim here is to show you like comparing, like you have the number of mangoes, like you have 23 mangoes. So these are the summation, these are the types, and these are like fruit summation. Okay, just say fruit numbers or something like that. Again, it doesn't have to be very meaningful. So here I'll say mangoes, and probably these are bananas. Okay, say also have oranges. You have something else, mangoes, bananas, oranges. What else do we have? Mangoes, bananas, oranges. You have what we call, what is it? Maybe you can just have pineapples. You can have tangerines. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3. So you can also have tangerines, or you can have apples, something like this. We have to make sure that they align, the length is equal, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's plot a pie chart for these. So now plotting a pie chart for these. Plot a pie chart. Sorry, a pie chart. It will be I'll say plot. I call the pie chart, pie function, and then say what do I want to put. So I'll just put these numbers here, the fruits. So that's my object. I'll just pass in as it is, fruits. Okay, so you have something very good like this one here. Now remove all these noises here. I'll just say plot, and then the noises, I'll say show. Again, it will remove all of it. Okay. So plot, you can say show, something like this, and then this is very good. Okay, plot show, and then you just come here. All right. Okay, so maybe here I can also add the labels. You can say these are the labels, because right now it's useful, but it doesn't have the meaning. It doesn't have the meaning because you don't know like what these colors really are, what do they represent. So I'll come here, I'll say, okay, labels, and then put on the labels, and the labels are the fruit types. So I'll just say fruit types, run it. Okay, so this is even more meaningful. Again, if you want to put a title, you can specify the title. Okay. A simple pie chart for, let's call it fruit distribution. Fruits distribution in Tanzania. So fruits distribution in Tanzania. You have something like that. Let me capitalize this one. And then, yeah, again, if you want the title to be a little visible, we'll say, call the guy again. Hey, font dictionary, client will come around. And then what I want from you is the font size. And I want the font size to be as big as 30. And then the syntax, sorry. Okay. So it works so fine. You have seen now. That's how you can actually create a pie chart. So you have learned how to create a pie chart. You can create a simple scatter graph. You can create a histogram. You can create a bar graph. You can create a histogram again, line graph, a dotted one, and so forth. So there are so many different kind of lines that you can create. I mean, the kind of graph that you can create. We won't cover all the graphs in this video, but again, the aim is to show you how, I mean, how you can create, how you can visualize your data. This makes more meaning, you see. Also, I can say I want to specify. So you see here, if I want to specify like the freight, because it starts with mangoes, right? These 23 mangoes that occupy this space, okay? I mean, this angle here. You can specify what we call the starting angle in your pie chart. No, so not here, sorry. Inside your pie chart here, you can come here and say, specify the start angle. Oh, so the start angle, it will be, you can put any angle between 0 and 1, 360. So I can say I want the start angle to be, now again, the 0, okay, let me show you, maybe you can see. If I put 45 here, it will change this one. You see, it starts because it is somewhere here. So this is actually 45 degrees. Let me put 90 degrees so that you see the differences. I don't know if you can keep up with the differences, or maybe we could have done this here so that you see the differences. I can add another cell here so that you can see all of them at once. Oh, I don't think it's possible. Oh, maybe this one you can see. So you see, this one here is a 90 degrees angle, which is this one. It starts from this one. This is 90 degrees. And then this one is actually, this is also 90. I'll put this something different here. I'll put some like 0 degrees. Okay. This is a 0 degrees. It starts from here, a 0 degrees. Okay. And this one, a 90 degrees, it starts from here. So this is 0 degrees, you have a 90 degrees, and then you have another 90s here, and then you have another 90s here, and you have a 90s here, okay? So this is 0, then 90, 130, 70, and then you have 360, okay? All right. So now, that's actually how you can you can manipulate the angles and how you want it to look like. All right. So there are so many ways you can actually do a lot. As I told you, I've shown you where you can go to find further information, and there is no better place to go than the official documentation, the matplotlib.org, which is actually my favorite, and that's where I usually like to go and learn. I've shown you this here, and there are so many things that you can just go through here. All right, so that's the examples. Come around here, you see like the line style is here. It just teaches you so much that you want to know about this. All right, so this marks the end of today's video. So be very careful when you're learning, and this you have to pay very much more attention into what we have studied, because it's a very, very important part if you want to actually understand better how your data looks like and what they contain. So until the next video, it was lovely seeing you guys.